have been unanimous.
Should have been.
I agree. It should have been unanimous. And one of the things that sticks with me is, well, she was the first rookie to get a triple-double.
Caitlin Clark is severely upset. To restore a sense of balance in America, it's essential to address the changing landscape of sports sponsorship and its implications for women's sports. Once you shift your perspective, the business of sports reveals itself in a new light. One of the most intriguing narratives today involves Caitlin Clark and her relationship with Nike, or, more accurately, her surprising absence from their promotional campaigns since turning professional.
Regular season. Why is that not the biggest story out at the moment? Why are we talking about Caitlin Clark?
Why exactly? Why when Asia was releasing a shoe were we talking about Caitlin?
Despite being a major figure in women's basketball, Clark has been notably absent from Nike's marketing efforts. This situation prompts a deeper inquiry. Why has Nike overlooked one of their most prominent rookies? And why is Adidas stepping in to celebrate her achievements?
For the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership.
This unusual dynamic raises more questions than it answers, particularly in the competitive realm of sports branding. Caitlin Clark had a recent shout-out from none other than Billie Jean King, the tennis legend and Adidas ambassador. But here's the twist. This shout-out wasn't related to Adidas. And it wasn't just any casual compliment. King, a prominent figure in women's sports and equality advocacy, congratulated Clark on her performance, even though Clark is a Nike athlete. This scenario would be like LeBron James sporting Under Armour gear or Pepsi endorsing Coca-Cola's newest drink. It simply doesn't add up. So where is Nike in all of this?
To me, and also coming off of Olympic break, Caitlin Clark separated herself. Yeah. She should have been unanimous. Now to celebrate her, one thing that people forget is as a rookie, she was the most blitzed player in the WNBA.
Their silence is deafening as Clark, the brightest star in the WNBA right now, smashes records and lights up courts across the country. Is Adidas attempting to outshine Nike, or is this a deeper, more complex issue in women's basketball sponsorship? Unpacking this strange case could reveal significant insights into the current landscape of women's sports endorsements and marketing. Let's start from the beginning. When Nike signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement contract, they were striking gold. It seemed like a no-brainer. Clark was a once-in-a-generation talent. But since signing this lucrative deal, something unexpected happened. Nike has all but disappeared from the narrative.
The Jordan effect on the NBA and the game of basketball. I would argue at one point early on there was a Steph Curry effect on the NBA and on basketball also. You bet your ass there is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball.
And this isn't just a typical case of an athlete falling out of favor or failing to live up to expectations. On the contrary, Caitlin Clark has done the opposite. She's done things no other WNBA player has ever accomplished in their first year, breaking barriers and redefining what it means to be a rookie in professional basketball. Her rookie season was nothing short of historic. She shattered the WNBA record for assists in a single season, a testament to her unselfish play and ability to make everyone around her better. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Clark also broke the rookie scoring record, making her not just a playmaker, but a scoring machine. And then she achieved the near impossible for a rookie. A triple-double, double-digit points, rebounds, and assists in a single game. The first time in WNBA history that a rookie accomplished this feat. By the end of the season, her list of accolades was staggering. Not only did she win Rookie of the Year, but she also set league-wide records for most points scored by a guard in a single season, rookie records in three-pointers, assists, and overall points. Caitlin Clark wasn't just setting records. She was changing the way the game was played. Her 103 three-pointers in a single season were more than impressive. They were revolutionary. Her long-range shooting opened up the floor and stretched defenses in ways never before seen from a rookie, male or female. Clark's ability to space the floor and force opponents to adjust to her shooting prowess has had ripple effects throughout the league. Comparisons to WNBA greats are inevitable, but in many ways, Clark isn't just stacking up against the league's best, she's rising above them. Some even argue that her debut season marked a turning point for women's basketball as a whole. In a league that has produced legends like Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Aja Wilson, Caitlin Clark is the latest in a long line of transformative talents. Yet for all her on-court success, there's a troubling off-court narrative that's hard to ignore. Nike, despite their massive investment in her, has been eerily quiet. No major advertisements, no social media campaigns, no Caitlin Clark signature merchandise. Fans have noticed, and they're not happy. After all, it wasn't long ago that Nike plastered her image on a massive billboard after she broke the NCAA scoring record with the tagline, "If you break it, you own it." But since turning pro, the fanfare has disappeared. As Clark continued to break records and win accolades, Nike has remained silent. It's baffling for a company that has historically been at the forefront of promoting their athletes. One might argue that Nike is simply too busy with their other WNBA stars, like Aja Wilson and Diana Taurasi. But that doesn't hold water. Companies of Nike's stature can certainly promote more than one athlete at a time. This silence has led to growing speculation and frustration among Clark's fans, who took to social media to voice their displeasure. Many pointed out that Caitlin Clark's contract with Nike was supposed to come with a signature shoe line, yet there's been no sign of that either. The last time Nike even updated their website about Clark was in April, months before she was named Rookie of the Year. So, what's going on here? Why would Nike invest millions in Caitlin Clark and then seemingly forget about her? Theories abound. Some suggest it's a matter of internal politics. With Nike's stock falling nearly 20% over the past year and rumors of layoffs and restructuring, it's possible that Clark's promotion got lost in the shuffle. Others speculate that there could be more insidious reasons behind the lack of attention, perhaps even racial or gender-based biases. After all, Aja Wilson, a black athlete, has been front and center of Nike's WNBA marketing efforts, while Clark, who is white, has been relatively sidelined. Whether or not race plays a factor is up for debate, but the optics aren't great. And then there's the elephant in the room: Adidas. While Nike has remained frustratingly silent on Caitlin Clark, Adidas has subtly maneuvered into the spotlight, with Billie Jean King publicly praising Clark. King's shout-out wasn't just a simple gesture of congratulations. It was a strategic move that signaled Adidas's positioning as a company dedicated to supporting female athletes and women's sports in ways that Nike, at least in this instance, isn't. This type of subtle yet highly impactful marketing has led to widespread speculation. Is Adidas trying to poach Clark? Or are they using her as a pawn to shine a light on Nike's missteps? Regardless of their intentions, Adidas's approach is clearly working. Fans are starting to take notice, and the narrative surrounding women's sports sponsorship is beginning to shift. This competition between Adidas and Nike goes far beyond a simple rivalry. It's emblematique of a larger issue that has plagued women's sports for decades: the chronic underinvestment and lack of attention compared to men's sports. Historically, female athletes have struggled to secure the same level of marketing, media coverage, and endorsement deals as their male counterparts. While trailblazers like Serena Williams, Simone Biles, and Megan Rapinoe have helped change that narrative, there's still significant progress to be made. Caitlin Clark's situation serves as a reminder of just how far we still need to go. She's undeniably one of the brightest stars in the game, yet Nike, the company that signed her, seems to be taking her for granted. Clark's case is not an isolated one. It reflects the broader treatment of female athletes by major brands. Companies often sign contracts with female athletes to appear inclusive, but then fail to follow through with the kind of meaningful promotion and investment that male athletes routinely receive. It's this discrepancy that fans are now calling out. They expect more from the companies they support. Signing an athlete isn't enough. There needs to be genuine investment in elevating these women and promoting their achievements with the same enthusiasm that is seen in men's sports. The frustration from fans is growing louder, and social media has provided the perfect platform for them to voice their opinions. On Twitter, Instagram, and beyond, fans are asking hard questions about why athletes like Clark are not getting the recognition they deserve. One fan aptly remarked, "How do you sign someone like Caitlin Clark, who's breaking records, and then fail to promote her?" The criticism points to a broader pattern within Nike and similar brands. High-profile female athletes are often left behind in marketing campaigns, while male athletes receive prime spots in commercials, billboards, and sponsorship packages. And it's not just fans speaking up. WNBA veterans have also weighed in on the conversation. Many players have expressed their support for Clark while simultaneously calling out Nike for its lack of promotion of women's sports. Their voices add to the mounting pressure on companies to reevaluate how they treat their female athletes. This is about more than just one player. It's about how companies invest in and promote women's sports as a whole. Enter Billie Jean King, whose involvement in this situation elevates the conversation to new heights. As a pioneer in the fight for gender equality in sports, King's support of Clark is not just about praising a young star. It's a reminder of the broader issues at play. King has long been at the forefront of pushing for fair treatment and opportunities for female athletes. Her advocacy has not only impacted the world of tennis, but it has also had a ripple effect across other sports. Billie Jean King's influence in the world of sports is impossible to overstate. Her historic victory over Bobby Riggs in the 1973 Battle of the Sexes was a watershed moment in the fight for gender equality. It proved that female athletes could compete at the highest levels and laid the groundwork for the rise of women's sports. King's fight didn't stop there. She continued to push for equal prize money in tennis and worked tirelessly to increase the visibility of women in sports. Her influence has been felt across generations, inspiring countless female athletes to demand more and strive for equality in their respective sports. By publicly praising Caitlin Clark, Billie Jean King is doing more than just giving credit where it's due. She's using her considerable platform to shine a light on the importance of promoting women's sports and recognizing the achievements of female athletes. King's involvement sends a message to companies like Nike and Adidas. The time to invest meaningfully in women's sports is now. Fans are paying attention, and companies that fail to step up risk falling behind in a rapidly evolving landscape. King's message is clear. Brands need to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to supporting female athletes. Signing high-profile athletes like Clark is just the beginning. True support comes from consistent promotion, investment, and recognition of their achievements. Brands that fail to recognize the potential in female athletes are not only doing a disservice to the athletes themselves, but are also missing out on a growing market of fans who are passionate about women's sports. This situation highlights a growing tension in the world of sports sponsorship. Fans are no longer content with companies that make token gestures toward inclusivity. They want to see real, tangible investments in women's sports. And if companies like Nike don't adapt, they risk losing not only athletes like Clark, but also the entire generation of fans who are increasingly critical of how brands handle issues of gender equality. As for Adidas, their strategic moves have put them in a prime position to capitalize on Nike's missteps. Whether they're planning to poach Clark or simply using the opportunity to showcase their support for female athletes, their approach is working. By aligning themselves with figures like Billie Jean King, Adidas is positioning itself as a brand that is genuinely committed to advancing women's sports. In contrast, Nike's silence is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. In the end, the Caitlin Clark situation is about much more than just one athlete. It's about the future of women's sports and the role that brands will play in shaping that future. The days of signing athletes and then relegating them to the background are over. Fans are demanding more, and they're holding companies accountable. Whether it's Nike, Adidas, or any other brand, the message is clear. If you want to be a leader in the sports industry, you need to fully support the athletes who represent you, regardless of gender. Billie Jean King's involvement in this situation underscores the importance of equality in sports sponsorship. Her praise of Clark is not just about recognizing a young star's talent. It's about pushing for systemic change in how female athletes are treated. Companies that fail to recognize this risk being left behind in the broader conversation about gender equality in sports. And as the Caitlin Clark saga unfolds, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is a turning point for the future of women's sports sponsorship. Brands that rise to the occasion will thrive, while those that remain silent will struggle to keep up in an industry that is rapidly evolving toward greater equality and inclusivity. Social media has played a significant role in amplifying this message. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok have become key spaces where fans voice their support for female athletes and hold brands accountable for their decisions, or lack thereof. In Clark's case, the outpouring of frustration toward Nike has been palpable. Fans have noticed the disparity between the attention Clark should be receiving and Nike's seemingly indifferent approach. One fan commented, "It's great to see Caitlin getting recognized by one of the biggest legends in sports. But where is Nike? How do you sign someone like Clark and then not promote her?" The fans' frustration is understandable, given that Nike invested millions in Clark, only to seemingly leave her out of their marketing campaigns, even after her record-breaking rookie season. Other fans have drawn comparisons between Nike's treatment of Clark and Adidas's subtle, yet effective moves. As another fan noted, Adidas is out here making moves while Nike is asleep at the wheel. This isn't just about Clark. It's about all women athletes. They deserve better. The sentiment behind these statements reflects a larger trend in public expectations for brands. Audiences now demand that companies take a stand and invest meaningfully in women's sports, not just in their male-dominated campaigns. The frustration isn't only about Clark. It's emblematic of a long-standing inequality in how male and female athletes are marketed. But it's not just the fans who are speaking up. WNBA veterans, as well as current players, have also started to weigh in on the situation. Many players have expressed solidarity with Clark, while others have taken direct aim at Nike for failing to adequately promote their female athletes. For instance, seasoned players who have faced similar struggles in their careers have voiced that Clark's scenario isn't an isolated one. It's part of a pattern where women in sports are often sidelined in favor of more prominent male athletes. They argue that companies like Nike need to recognize the marketing potential in stars like Clark, as well as the broader significance of supporting female athletes at every level. This growing chorus of voices, fans, fellow athletes, and advocates like Billie Jean King, reflects a larger shift in how consumers, especially younger generations, perceive sports sponsorship. Consumers are increasingly looking for brands that champion social justice and equality. For companies like Nike, staying silent or failing to adequately promote their female athletes may result in more than just bad PR. It could lead to tangible losses in brand loyalty and sales. Brands can no longer afford to ignore women's sports, not just because of the social implications, but because women's sports are rapidly growing in popularity and commercial value. The Caitlin Clark situation has become a prime example of why companies need to rethink their approach to women's sports. Fans aren't just watching the games, they're watching how brands treat the athletes they claim to support. And in today's climate, where accountability is a major part of consumer culture, silence or neglect won't go unnoticed. For Nike, the time is now to course correct. As Clark's star continues to rise, so too does the pressure for Nike to invest in her and promote her achievements. Clark has already proven her value on the court, breaking rookie records and earning accolades that place her among the WNBA's top players. The disconnect between her performance and Nike's promotion strategy is glaring, and the longer Nike waits to give her the recognition she deserves, the more room it leaves for competitors like Adidas to swoop in and build relationships with not just Clark, but the fans who follow her. What makes this situation even more critical is that Clark's story is emblematic of a larger movement within women's sports. Women's sports, once seen as a niche market, are now on the rise, attracting larger audiences, better viewership numbers, and more media attention than ever before. Companies that fail to recognize this growth and adapt their strategies accordingly risk being left behind, not just in women's sports, but in the broader sports sponsorship market. The growth of women's basketball, soccer, tennis, and other sports has shown that there is a strong and passionate fan base eager to see their favorite athletes receive the same treatment and recognition as their male counterparts. So, what's next? Will Nike rise to the occasion and give Clark the promotion she deserves, or will Adidas continue to capitalize on their rivals' silence? Either way, the stakes are high. The future of women's sports sponsorship is at a crossroads, and fans are more engaged than ever in the conversation about what kind of support their favorite athletes should receive. If companies like Nike don't adapt, they risk losing not just athletes like Caitlin Clark, but an entire generation of fans who are more socially conscious and critical of how brands handle gender equality. Nike has built its brand on the idea of supporting athletes who break barriers, defy expectations, and challenge the status quo. Caitlin Clark fits that mold perfectly, yet for some reason, she has been left in the shadows. It's a strange and unfortunate disconnect between the brand's ethos and its current actions. Nike needs to step up, not just for Clark, but for all women athletes who deserve to be recognized for their achievements. The Caitlin Clark saga is about more than just one athlete or one brand. It's about the future of women's sports, how companies choose to invest in female athletes, and whether or not they see women's sports as a viable market or simply as a token gesture. The fans, players, and advocates like Billie Jean King have made it clear. The time for action is now. Brands that fail to get on board with this movement may find themselves playing catch-up in a rapidly changing landscape. In the end, signing a contract isn't enough. Brands need to follow through with sustained support, meaningful promotion, and a commitment to equality. If they don't, there's always another brand waiting in the wings, ready to take their place. This is the new reality of sports sponsorship, and it's one that Caitlin Clark is helping to shape, whether she realizes it or not. Her career and how she is marketed will have a lasting impact on how future female athletes are treated, and it will set the tone for how companies engage with women's sports moving forward. It's a pivotal moment, and the brands that recognize this will be the ones that thrive in the years to come.